Hey, it's Pete Cohen and welcome to episode 139 of the Mi365 podcast series. Today's podcast is brought to you by me and it is called The Courage to Create. I'm excited to share with you what it really takes to be creative in this world, to come up with an idea and follow it through, and also for you to develop courage. What does courage mean? It comes from the French word heart, and heart is the organ in your body that pumps blood to all of your organs. Courage is what we need to pump energy into our ideas even when we don't feel like it. So get ready to be inspired to up your creative genius and for you to have the courage to create. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Today's podcast is called The Courage to Create. And talking about creating, today's podcast is brought to you by Mi365 Elite, the #1 coaching opportunity in the world to help you create the life that you want. And did you hear me say that word? Create. Look, a wonderful, amazing life doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. It happens by creativity. My goal in this podcast is to help you understand that you are a creative being and you just need to make a few tweaks into the way you think and act and move through the world, but also courage, that you have courage, but you maybe need a little bit more of that to follow through and to make more stuff happen in your life. I personally believe that there's a gap between where we all are and where we want to be. And filling in that gap should be, for most of us, or maybe all of us, our life's work, to feel that we're getting better, to feel that we're giving our greatest gifts and service to the world, and for us to leave this world in a better place than we came here in. And that's a big challenge because of many of the things that are going on in the world. But having spent most of my life working with great people and just everyday people, I believe everyone is great, but I think what makes people greater is creativity. Now, I'm about to contradict everything I've just said because creativity doesn't actually really exist. Now, I know as I leave a gap there, some of you are going, Pete, what are you talking about? Part of my goal in working with you is for you to question things. It's not creativity that is the difference, that makes the difference. It's productivity. Productivity. It's the wrong ivity. Because you can come up with an idea, which is what your brain is brilliant at doing. If we were trying to work out, okay, what does your brain do? What does my brain do? It comes up with ideas. What do we do with those ideas? Well, a lot of people do nothing. Someone said to me many years ago, what's the most expensive land in the world? And I didn't know. I said maybe somewhere where there's lots of oil. And he went, no, it's the graveyard. Because the graveyard is full of people who didn't have the courage to use their creativity. They were the ones who left their books unwritten, their great ideas unfulfilled. They didn't do anything with it. So understand that to be creative without any production is a waste of time. The London Philharmonic Orchestra were asked to pick 100 of the greatest pieces of music of all time. And they picked, I think, 8 from Mozart, 6 from Beethoven, 5 from Bach. And you think, well, that's amazing, right? Why did they pick them? And, were they just geniuses? If you look behind the 5 or the 6 or the 8 that were chosen, you'll realize that those composers actually composed hundreds, thousands of pieces of work. And it was only through the production that great things happened. And this is where I want you to really understand. If you want something magnificent to happen, part of the biggest challenge that we all face is mastering the mundane. And mastering the mundane for some people is boring, and boring can lead to something interesting. But I actually believe it can lead to something a lot more than interesting. It can lead to something absolutely amazing, game-changing. So when people say an overnight success takes 10 years, I believe it can take 10 years. I believe it can take a lot more than 10 years. Cristiano Ronaldo scored this bicycle kick that many people saw. He scored another goal last night. in the last minute of the game. And you think, well, why? I mean, how much hours of practice has he put into things? So look, using your creativity and having the courage to take an idea and do something with it is brilliant. The first step, getting it out of your head and writing it down, by the way, that's really important, because your brain is great at coming up with ideas, but it's absolutely terrible at managing things. That's why we need calendars. That's why we can't remember everything. So to come up with an idea, a creative idea, oh, that's a good idea, and to write it down and think about it. Look, this is why this thing is behind me, by the way. Those of you that are watching this on YouTube, can you see all of this behind me? I'm not sure, Toby, whether he's got that clear or not, but whether it's on that camera or this camera, look, you can see that's creativity. And one of the things that we do, and we can put this in the show notes for you if you want, this is something that we did with the lady who drew this, which is all about looking at your current reality and looking at your desired reality. Because I would imagine you're not where you want to be, and you know, you and I, we all have goals, dreams, and ambitions, right? And that's a desired reality. But the fact is, if we don't take bold steps, and this is why this exercise here has 3 bold steps, 3 arrows, thinking of it like 2 lands, like the land of current reality and the land of desired reality. And there's like a sea in between them, and you need bridges, and the bridges are the bold steps that you take in order to make things happen, in order to manifest things. Chances are I'm telling you stuff that you already know, but what we have to get really good at doing is applying. And as we delve into this whole thing of understanding what creativity is your ability to take an idea and to see it. Once you can see the idea, it's real. Some people would say in the dimension of thought, what you see is real. The man who created the toaster, the camera, the computer, they had a clear idea of what they were going to do even before anything was put together in the material world. So I'm just hearing that song by Madonna, you know, living, as I sip a cup of my coffee, living in the material world, and I am the material girl. Oh, you know that look, we're living in a material world. So the next time you walk down the street and you look at things, chances are what you're looking at has been created by someone's mind. You have that creative ability, but it's the courage. And this is where it gets really interesting. Courage. What is courage? Well, the root, the etymology, I love that word, the word courage comes from a French word meaning heart. Think about your heart for a moment. What does your heart do? It pumps blood to your organs. Take your heart away, you've got no life. Courage is what drives emotion. It drives action for you to move forwards. But having courage needs commitment, and we'll look at that. But let's look at courage. Some of you know, my father has had some major health challenges over the last year. He's now in a rehab hospital. He's lost function in his leg, and they are training him to walk again. You know, he can't walk, and it's pretty sad. But it was really interesting because I've been going to the hospital as often as I can, which is a wonderful, wonderful pleasure for me to be there for him in the way that he's always been there for me. It's really quite bizarre. My parents keep thanking me and saying, you know, we really appreciate it. And I'm going, you know, you're putting your life on hold. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, for me to have that courage, it's not even courage. It's doing what needs to be done. It's doing what has to be done. It's doing what I am programmed to do, which is to give and serve and give back. But we were in the hospital in this rehab clinic, and my dad's in this wheelchair, and we're waiting for his physio session. And we're looking at this young man who has some major neurological challenges. He can't walk, he can hardly talk, and they put him in a harness and put him on a treadmill. And they lift him up, hoist him up, and they put him on a treadmill, and literally it looks like taking one step is so hard for his head and so hard for his body, and he's on there for 3 minutes and he's absolutely exhausted, and at 3 minutes they stop it. and all he wants to do is carry on. Even though he's exhausted, all he wants to do is carry on because he wants to move forwards. That's all he wants to do. He wants to move forwards, no matter how difficult it is. And I was watching this, and I must admit, I was crying. And I think my dad shed a tear too. I think it was a good thing for my dad to see, because he said to me afterwards, he went, wow, he's got a real challenge on his hands. The physios actually think that my dad will be able to walk. They really do, not with a Zimmer frame, either without anything or maybe a stick. They believe that, but my dad has to believe that, and that comes from the creativity. And I kept asking my dad, because they asked me to go through some questions with my dad around what does he want, where does he see him going, and my dad kept saying this: he wants to be able to do what he was doing in 2016. And he said it a few times. I said, no, Dad, that was 2016. I want you to think about what you want in the future. And he was really struggling with that. Now, why is that so important? If you can't see where you're going, how the hell do you ever expect to get there? This is what a lot of people do who want to lose weight, by the way. When you ask them what they want, they'll tell you about what they want. They'll either tell you what they don't want. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to have no control. Or they'll tell you about when they were slimmer in the future. Look, you've been given the creativity, the ability to manifest things by seeing them. Now, this can take time, and this is why actually for some people, drawing what you want can be a part of that process. Even blind people see, right? Some people say, I'm not a visual person. It's not that you're not a visual person. It's just you haven't exercised those muscles, the creativity muscles. If you ask a blind person to picture what the other side of the road looks like, they make a visual representation of that. How do I know that? Because I worked with the England blind cricket team, and I'm thinking they're holding the cricket bat and just hoping that they hit the ball. Of course not. The ball makes a sound, and from the sound, they make a picture, and they go with that, with what they see, and they don't always get it right, just like us. So I have to ask you the question. You understand what courage is. You know what your heart does, right? So your heart pumps blood to your organs. Courage is the emotional capacity to pump energy into your ideas, and having the heart to do that no matter what. So it takes commitment to do all of these things. And something I'm going to say here, I believe it's going to be quite profound, but I also believe it's going to be a massive game changer for so many of you. Because we know that people don't change when you tell them what to do. I could tell you what to do, you might listen for a bit, but the rebel in you will eventually go, I'm not listening to you anymore, Pete, sorry. The rebel in me is saying, no, do something else. People change when their perspective changes. So let me help you understand what the word commitment means. When you're committed with something, you're united to it. It's something that is together. It's something that is connected. I mentioned this a few weeks ago in one of our podcasts about the umbilical cord of you being connected to your future self. That is what commitment is. It's something which cannot be broken. But why do we break commitments? How many of you right here, right now, could think of all the times in your life where you thought, I'm committed to saying that affirmation every day. I'm committed to reading a chapter of that book every day. I'm committed to eat green vegetables every single day. Well, what happened to that commitment? It's not that the commitment went away. It's a slight contradiction. You just didn't recommit. How do you recommit to something? You do it every single day. You recommit to what it is that you need to do. So I'll give you an example. Toby, who films all of these podcasts, is filming this right now. He's been a massive help and support to us. So he's gone out there and he's made a documentary which is amazing. It's about the uranium mines in America and the damage that is being done by the uranium that is still in the rock, it's still in the environment, that is causing serious harm to a lot of people. So they came up with the idea, they took the idea, they went to America and they filmed and they interviewed people. But now taking it to another level where it becomes a film, that's where the recommitment to what you're committed to has to be done every single day. If you haven't listened to the podcast I did with Ben Shepherd, which came out a couple of weeks ago, or the podcast that I did with Sally Gunnell, the commitment to something, or the recommitment every day, that's where real success lies. Because we live in a world that is full of distraction. We live in a world that is full of issues and challenges, but it's the impulsivity that we can just give into. You can be committed to something, but unless you recommit every day, you're in trouble. And I cannot emphasize, that's why marriages break down. You committed to someone, well, how often do you reaffirm the commitment that you made till death do us part? To think what is actually important here. And by the way, if any of you want to see the documentary that Toby made, well, we can put that in the show notes as well, and you can watch it and see the efforts that him and his group of people took to go out to America, put the money into it themselves, and make something happen. So the courage, the courage to create, let's recap, and hopefully you'll take something positive away from this episode today. My goal is you can feel where I'm coming from. You can feel energized from what Pete Cohen is sharing with you. What you do with that, maybe it will help you to understand that you have courage. It's whether you apply that courage. You can create. The ideas come from your mind. People who tend to practice mindfulness or practice meditation tend to come up with more ideas. They tend to clear their mind so new ideas just come. Or they feed their mind with things that inspire them and empower them. They come up with ideas, they get the ideas down, and then they have the courage to commit to that. And by the way, if you're committed to something and it's clearly not working, that's also a very courageous thing to do, to realize that ain't working. I need to change tack. I need to be flexible. And to understand what commitment is. Commitment is when you bond to something, you unite to something, you get together with something. This is what I'm doing, and you recommit to that every single day. I've been doing this for years and years and years and years, and that's why I've had a relative amount of success in what I'm doing. So what has been your biggest takeaway? And by the way, that's part of what we do with our elite program. Is I show up every day, Monday to Friday, live broadcasts where people have access to our masterclasses to try and make that a little bit easier for people to recommit. And if you want to find out about the greatest opportunity in the world to actualize and optimize and create a wonderful life, go and check out mi365elite.me/30 days. That's mi365.elite.me/30 days. Is that right? Is that right? Do you remember? I think it's mi365. There you go. Sorry, mi365elite.me/30 days. Let me say that again. mi365elite.me/30 days. What has been your biggest takeaway from this podcast? It's always my joy to show up and share with you guys. If you've enjoyed this and you're watching this on iTunes, please make a comment, share it. We really would appreciate that. If you're watching this on the Mi365 on our blog page, once again, feel free to make a comment and share it. Let's get this information out there. Let's change the world one person at a time. We will see you next time for another courageous, creative Mi365 podcast. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.